Hey y'all, my name is Drew Wright, and this is my Linguistic Odyssey presentation. I'm a double major, double minor in my fourth year here at UNCG. I major in anthropology and environmental studies, and I minor in biology and sustainabilities. During this presentation, I hope to tell you guys a little bit about who I am, my hometown, background, and family history pertaining to my linguistic development, as well as my linguistic heritage and identity. To begin, I'd like to introduce my hometown and background as a foundation for understanding my linguistic development. I grew up in two separate regions with which I both strongly identify. The first of which is Swepsonville, North Carolina. It's a small rural town in southern Alamance County, North Carolina. The second is Burnsville, West Virginia, which is also a small rural town in Braxton County, West Virginia. I was born in Swepsonville and lived there until mid-elementary school age, about 7 or 8 years old. After beginning elementary school, my family moved to Burnsville, West Virginia, which is my mother's hometown, and where I attended elementary school from third grade until eventually moving back to North Carolina during my middle school years. Below, I have a map that pictures both the locations of these two towns. Because I would say I more strongly identify with Burnsville, West Virginia as my hometown than Swepsonville, I have included pictures of the town, the dam located at the town, and a historical marker that identifies why the town was first established. The town itself is small and has only a gas station, a diner, a library, a church, and an elementary school as well as residents. While the town is small, it does have some historical significance to the area. For example, I provided a picture of the town dam because it was built by the Navy Corps of Engineers back in the mid to early 1900s and continues to operate and employ a large number of the town's residents today. It is because of the dam that my great-grandfather, Hulbert Roy Metz, began his family here. Since then, the majority of our family has remained there, and those that have left, such as me and my mother, carry the town heritage with us. The town itself has earned a historical marker denoting its historical significance since its first settlers arrived there in 1798. Today, there is not much accent or dialectual variation in the residents. Pertaining to my personal history, I am one of three biological siblings raised in Swepsonville and Burnsville. I'm the oldest of my biological siblings, but do have five additional step siblings whose age ranges from 8 years older than mine to 20 years younger. Both of my parents are English speakers and have never learned a second language. My mother grew up in Burnsville, West Virginia, while my father grew up on the Florida-Georgia line. They both moved to North Carolina as young adults. Both of my parents are from traditional Southern families as well. My grandparents from both sides share common Southern dialects and accents. My other relatives, aunts, uncles, and cousins also share relatively Southern accents, despite the fact that my considerably large extended family is spread across the entire southeast United States. I attribute their upbringing, as well as my upbringing, to the formation of my own relatively Southern accent and the use of a Southern dialect. I consider my personal accent and dialect a mixture of Southern, Appalachian, and Midwestern language. As I previously mentioned, my mother is from West Virginia and my father is from the Georgia-Florida line. My mother's accent is a mixture between Midwestern and Southern, while my father's is a mixture of Southern and Northern. They both use words such as y'all and commonly drop the G off of words like running and walking as well, which in my experience is typical of Southern English speakers here in the United States. My mother is more prone to use words such as pop rather than soda, while my father is more likely to use the word soda or cola to describe similar drinks. I attribute somewhat northern dialect of my father's language to the fact that he grew up in Florida, and Florida itself is not a particularly southern state. Where he was from in Florida, there are quite a few speakers from up north who had retired and moved there. He picked up much of his dialect from them. Because of their two very different dialects, I feel that my dialect has developed as a variation of Southern, Northern, and Midwestern, as well as Appalachian. Pertaining to my heritage, both my mother and father are fairly unsure of where our ancestors came from. However, they both believed they may have had German ancestry as well as Scottish ancestry. Unfortunately, this uncertainty has resulted in no notable accentual or dialectual variation in mine nor their language. It was in Burnsville, West Virginia, where I really began to learn how to read and write well. I attended Burnsville Elementary School, the only elementary school available to our town, from third grade. The schoolhouse itself was built in the early 1900s and consisted of only one classroom per grade level from kindergarten through fourth grade. The middle school and high school, which I did not attend, were located 2 towns over, nearly a 30-minute drive away. Due to the rural location of the town, all of the teachers who taught at Burnsville Elementary School, including my teachers, were local and did not provide the students with any dialectual or accentual variation. We learned to speak and write the way that our teachers did. Like many elementary school students during the early 2000s, I read books such as Chicka Chicka Boom Boom and The Rainbow Fish with my peers in class. These were common literary aids used to teach children how to read and write. In my later elementary school years, I read books such as The Boxcar Children. These books, I felt, used similar Southern language to that which I was being taught and were incredibly relatable and easy to read. Heading into middle school, I read the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. This was the first full-length series that I read from cover to cover. While I do not feel that it assisted in developing my accent and dialectal preference, I do feel that the Maximum Ride series expanded my vocabulary and awareness of different regional dialects, since the book's main characters traveled all around the world and experienced a variety of cultural identities. In both high school and college, I have expanded my fluency of not only English, but Spanish as well. I began learning the Spanish language in high school and have continued those studies here at UNCG. While learning Spanish is difficult for me, it has impacted the way that I speak and use English sometimes. Perhaps I might structure a sentence in English more like the way I would structure a sentence in Spanish. For example, I might say the book bag of his or hers rather than his or her bag. Or structure descriptions of items with the adjective after the noun, much like they are in Spanish. As far as English goes, I have developed several manners in which I write and speak. I code switch depending on who I'm talking to, and in an educational or professional setting, I feel that this is very important. You would want to address your teachers and bosses much differently than you would want to address your family, friends, or peers. For instance, the same goes with your writing. I use slang and shorthand more often in informal settings, such as texting and emailing my friends and family, than I would when emailing my professors, writing a research paper, or developing a professional resume. My linguistic identity overall, I feel, has developed my personal accent and use of dialect to be a mixed representation of Southern, Appalachian, and Midwestern language with a little bit of Northern dialect here and there. I'm proud to be from the South, and I'm proud to speak the way that I do and use the language that is common of this area. I feel that my language and the way I learned it has developed a personal preference towards rural and Southern culture, and I would not change the traditional Southern foundations of my language for anything in the world. I appreciate the time that you all have given me in viewing this presentation, and I hope my language and linguistic odyssey has inspired you to explore your own language and linguistic history. Thank you, and have a great day.